Hi, good evening. Welcome to News Talk New England. This is not Monday Night Sports Talk. It is a Monday special on mental health. My co-host, Jose Rivera, and joining us tonight, we're actually pretty soon about to add him to our list of our team as a like special correspondent or something like that. I think we have to put him under, give him a title, Jose Antonio Rivera.
Hello, hello.
How are things going? First of all, check in with you.
Awesome. No complaints. We're here. We're healthy. Plugging away. Grateful every day God gives us.
One thing I learned from that interview I did with Jay Holiday was when we start these interviews, we always get right into questions, and we never ask each other, like, how you doing? How's your day? Or how have you been? And, so it's always good to do that. And thank you, Jay Holiday, for teaching me that on our interview. So we're here to talk about mental health tonight and how important this issue is. Jose, I'm going to let you lead off with this one because you also have an experience in behavioral health.
So I don't think, even though it is Mental Health Awareness Month, it's a topic that should be spoken of on a daily basis. There's families, the world in general is something that, for some reason, they're very scared to talk about. From experience, personal experience, I've seen it where there is all types of mental health in families, and it's a topic that they stray away from instead of digging deep into the problem and the situation. They just run from it, and that's the worst you could do. It'll catch up to you sooner or later. It just makes the problem worse. You said that I have experience with it, but it's also dual diagnosis. I've been doing it for 5 years now, dealing with individuals in recovery and mental health. So, it's quite challenging when you have someone that's dealing with recovery from any type of addiction, but also dealing with mental health issues, and that's when you got to deal with the dual diagnosis. It's very difficult. It's very hard. We went to the state to Boston one time, and they're trying to teach us how to deal with these individuals because sometimes you got to be their father, their mother, their uncle, their friend. Different moods, different situations for everybody, but it's something that we need to research and we need to talk about on a daily basis, not just when the month of May comes around.
Definitely want to echo that. I mean, we definitely can. It's almost like National Hispanic Heritage Month or National
Black History Month.
Black History Month. We only talk about it during those months, but we have to have those conversations because Hispanic heritage is continuously all year long, and mental health it's a year-round conversation that we definitely need to have. I know in the NFL we talk about it all the time, especially with players. Look at this Friday night, the Worcester Red Sox. They recognized the mental health suicide prevention foundation for Massachusetts, and that was pretty good. And then the manager for the Worcester Red Sox actually. I was kind of nervous at first, and some of the other reporters in the room were like, afterward, wow, you can't believe you asked that question, but it turned out to be good, because usually a question like that can backfire on you. But I asked him, what was your awareness or prevention message to people with suicide? And then he's like, I don't have a message or anything like that. I have experience with my friend who killed himself. And I'm like, wow. And then he went into it and how it affected him and stuff like that. And so that was pretty good to hear somebody like that at a level that he's at. But let's talk about the numbers real quick. 21% of the U.S. adults experienced mental health illness in 2020. That's 52.9 million people. 5.6% of U.S. adults experienced serious mental illness in 2020. 16.5% of U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experienced mental health disorders in 2016, and 6.7% of U.S. adults experienced a co-occurrent substance use disorder and mental illness, which is what you were talking about, dual diagnosis. Um, so it's an important topic to talk about. How do we overcome the stigma?
That's a tough one because people in today's world is all about stigma. You know, they're all about what other people say or what other people think about them. And I think when a person becomes comfortable in their own skin, it will allow them to be themselves, you know, the individual who they are. My brother and I, our family has experience in mental health, you know. We not only, we've lived it.
Yeah.
So we know exactly how to not overcome it, or the things not to get involved to try to overcome it, which is, you know, alcohol and drugs and all the stuff that many people do to kind of, and then other ways that I feel is important to help you overcome it. You know, a lot of people are not aware that exercising and working out and doing something physical can be helpful. I'm not saying it's going to cure you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to help you. But for every individual, I think it's important that they understand they got to find what's going to help them, because it could be music, you know, it could be arts and other, you know, they may have a talent that they're not aware of, but something that they find that's in positive that actually will help them, you know. It's something that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives, something we live with the rest of our lives, but it's continuing being in the space of being aware of how to keep yourself in a positive state of mind.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it's funny. I was reading because you said exercise, and I was just reading before the show how boxing actually can help improve someone's mental health.
Absolutely.
And I was like, wow, I never knew that. So,
Well, for me personally, I can speak for me personally. Is as a kid, you know, my mom committed suicide, so I was distraught. I was 10 years old, and I was distraught, and I thought my life was over. And between the ages 10 to 15, I would say were the worst years of my life. And the things that I got involved in, the people I got involved with, were not very good for my mental health. So I kept spiraling worse and worse and worse and worse. But eventually, what was able to get me out of that cycle was boxing. You know, was when I walked into that gym, I never walked out. You know, and it just helped me because I finally was pursuing what made me happy and what I wanted to do, but also it started, like you mentioned, it started building my mental health. You know, it's a strong. The way I can best describe it is you develop a strong mental health aspect to it because you start seeing yourself, the results. You start seeing the development. Even had I never become a world champion, just to see the results of what I was able to become in my boxing career, based on when I started, to me was just very helpful. You know, and also who you surround yourself with. You know, the friends.
That's
you know,
very
that's really, really important. That's hugely important because, you know, you may care about people, but that person that you care about may not be good for your mental health. You know, and a lot of people don't realize that. You know, because a lot of people, unfortunately, you know, sometimes these people who you know, today's big word they use is toxic for you, could be a family member. You know, imagine having to make a decision that you say, I can't be around that person because they're not good for my mental health.
Yep.
And that's not just in general. I'm just talking about more so for people who really are deep down in a bad depression and just need positive people to help keep them afloat. You know, I mean, survival. It's all about survival. You know, and having the right people around you can be a big component to that. You know.
Mental health and substance abuse, how do they intersect? And how do we continue the conversation year round that you said we need to have?
I'm gonna give you an example. Me. I mean, I've lived it. I'm the perfect poster boy for everyone that is in recovery or dealing with mental health issues. Like my brother was saying, we lost our mother. I was 13. I was only 13. She was only 28. He was only 10. So, she was very, very young. She had me when she was 14. I was lost. My mother to me was the world, That, it's an excuse sometimes, but at 13, I start drinking alcohol like a fish. I mean, I'm in Puerto Rico in the bars like an adult, drinking away, playing pool, like hanging with females, like it's okay. Like I'm 20 something years old. I was very emotionally distraught. That led to other things, marijuana and then heavier stuff. For those that don't know, I've been in recovery since 2006. Something that I learned recently, and see, the thing is that, I didn't know that I was a chronic, I had chronic anxiety. I went to the hospital thinking I had heart issues. People tell me sometimes, how do you do it? You do this, you do that, I don't like to be around a lot of people. I'm the type of person that, but it's because of the anxiety, and I could feel my heart racing. So, me thinking that I had heart issues, it turned out, at this age now, an old man, I just got diagnosed not too long ago with chronic anxiety. Now, back then, why didn't they notice or I noticed? Because I was stimulated all the time with other stuff. Instead of the medication that they give you, I was, I was numb. Alcohol, drugs, and everything. So at those times, I really didn't think, even though it runs in the family, because it does. We have experience. It wasn't only my mother. We have other family members that's why I like to talk about it, because we have the experience. We've lived it. Some people, haven't lived it, and others have and don't like to talk about it. I have an uncle, I quote him the other day, was saying, the worst we could do is we don't talk about these issues enough. We hide from them. That's the worst thing you could do. You see a family member dealing with it, just try to get them help, try to talk to them. It's hard, people say, no, I'm not depressed. No, I don't have anxiety. Like it's, like you got cancer. No, you got to deal with it. It's something you got to deal with. And getting back to your question, I've dealt with individuals on a daily basis that, they're dealing with addiction, trying to stay clean, but they don't know that they also have issues with mental health. Now we got to deal and work with them first with their recovery situation, and then keep, later down the line, focus on their mental health. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do, to tell someone, listen, not only now that you're clean, you're okay, now we have to find a doctor, a psychiatrist. Some don't take it well. Yeah, some think it's just the addiction part of it, and I'm okay. And, and there's clinicians that will say, no, now you got to deal with the mental health aspect of it. Some people don't take it well. I don't know. Nowadays, people take mental health and anxiety like it's something really bad. And what we have to do is we have to learn more about it, is what we have to do.
Two things real quick.
Yes.
Since we just mentioned the same thing. First, 53 is not old.
Exactly. That's definitely not old.
It's
I'm
not
almost,
old, man.
I'm almost there.
Calm down.
So-
Yeah. The second is, this is a perfect example. Same mom, right? Brothers, right? Same upbringing growing up. We just dealt with it differently. He did, stuff that got him numb, stuff like that. And I was headed in that direction. But I did stuff that made me feel good, which is when I talk about the exercise, the working out, and stuff like that. So I guess the point of what I'm trying to prove is, for me, because that's how it worked for me, and I'm not against medicine. I'm not against, because everybody, please, you got to do
The
what.
perfect poster boy, but opposite than me on the other end of it.
Well, right. So
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
That's exactly
No,
what I'm
you're
saying.
right. Yeah.
You know,
I see what
he
you're saying.
right. You know, he healed. He had the exact, on how, what you should do, what you should not do, right? And what I'm trying to come from is try first the whole the working out, the exercising, the stuff, hiking, swimming, tennis, basketball. There's so many things
Nature
out there.
walks,
I mean,
whatever, yeah.
but like the first thing that the and again, I'm not against it, but the first thing that people go to is they want medication, and not all medication is not for everybody.
Exactly.
Either, you know what I'm saying? And so they got to fight the right medication. So don't be afraid of that either, but don't shy away from the natural stuff that could help as well. And for me, it was not just that, but again, my trust and faith, and I'm turning this into religion and stuff like that, but my trust and faith in God is kind of the key component of why my mental health is very strong today, as opposed to when I was 10-year-old kid growing up to 15, where I was all over the place. You know what I'm saying? But those are the things that helped me. So I'm just sharing what helped me, but the key component to everything would be you can't give up.
Exactly.
You can't give up on yourself, and you can't give up. You just got to keep finding that thing that's going to help turn things around for you.
And on that note, folks, we're not going to end it. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to be right back after this very important message on mental health from a person struggling with mental illness.
I suffer with panic disorder,
post-traumatic stress,
obsessive compulsive disorder,
postpartum psychosis,
history of depression.
I'm diagnosed schizophrenic.
I've been bereaved by suicide.
I was actually diagnosed at the age of 15 or 14, even, I can't remember the exact age, as being bipolar.
I'm Dr. Miriam Delphin-Rittman, Assistant Secretary for Mental Health and Substance Use in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the leader of the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and an increased focus on mental health is needed now more than ever. As President Biden has noted, our country has faced an unprecedented mental health crisis among people of all ages and backgrounds. 2 out of 5 adults report symptoms of anxiety or depression. Suicide is now the 10th leading cause of death in our country, and more than 104,000 Americans died of drug overdose in the 12-month period ending in September 2021. Despite these troubling trends, there are many reasons for hope, hope that is rooted in action. At SAMHSA, we will continue to work to improve access to quality care and outcomes for all Americans. We know that with the right services and supports, people with mental health conditions can and do recover and live full, productive lives in communities of their choosing across the country. For help finding mental health services near you, please call SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP.
Welcome back, folks. News Talk New England. You probably think it's a Monday night sports talk, but it's not Monday night sports talk. It's a special tonight on mental health. And then we're going to kick it off to Jonathan Burgos for a Celtics talk show. Mental health, it's great to hear this, how you guys just open up like that, because a lot of people don't open up like that, and they're scared to open up like that because, again, the stigma and stuff like that. One thing I always know, like the anxiety part, I relate to because covering sports, you'll see me a lot of times. I won't go through like fan-controlled areas. I'll try to go through like a tunnel that will get me to a field easier than going through fans because it increases your heart rate. You feels like you're having a panic attack. Like at Holy Cross, you see me, I won't go up through the bleachers or anything like that because, not just because of the bleachers, but you have to walk through all those fans, so it gets your heart pumping and you just start feeling like so I'll stay on the field away from fans and stuff like that. So chronic anxiety, I can totally relate to that. I have that. And I like how you mentioned that there's other things besides medication, because like Klonopin, was something that I was taking for the longest time. And within the past couple of months, I've been trying to cut back on taking that, and do natural things, like just going for a hike or just going out for a walk. I might not go out during the day because there's so many people out, so I'll go out like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
One of the things that a lot of people may not be aware of, because I was just having this conversation with my daughter and her friend the other day, is that seasonal. A lot of people have seasonal depression.
Yes.
The winters and the really long cold winters can really keep people down. And it's not besides the colds, because I hate the cold, but it's the lack of sun. A lot of times during the summertime, go out, vitamin D, go out in the sun, go out to the beach, go out as much as possible, because you want to absorb that vitamin D. God made it for a purpose,
Exactly.
And I know they say, stay away from the sun, stay away from the sun, stay away from the sun. If the best that I learned, the best thing that you can do is be in the sun for 10 to 15 minutes, no sunblock. No sunblock at all. Because once you put sunblock on, you're not getting no sun, you're not getting no vitamin D. No longer how long you're hour tanning out there in the sun with sunblock on, you wasted, you got no sun.
Yeah.
You got your tan and you're looking good, but you're missing the most important component, which is vitamin D. But what they don't know is that vitamin D helps the body feel good.
Yep.
And that's so that I wanted to make sure that I get that out there. And
that's very important.
You mentioned it.
That's very important.
It led to that.
Yeah, because when you go to get blood work done, a lot of times we'll do a vitamin D check to see what somebody's levels are and stuff. And if they're not high enough for where they should be at, and they're critically low, and then somebody will say, well, why do I need to take a vitamin D tablet? Why are you prescribing me this? They'll ask the PAs that, and then it's like, well, that's because your vitamin D is low, critically low. We need to get it up. And then we have to explain to them why and stuff like that. And
Mostly everybody in North America is vitamin D deficient. Unless you supplement with a vitamin D like I do.
Yep.
Vitamin D3, also make sure it's D3. You're vitamin deficient. That's why the sun is so important. And even when I go out in the sun and stuff like that, although I take my vitamin D, I don't put sunblock on. I just I sometimes I get burnt. My wife yells at me, but I just don't want to put that sunblock on. And I'm more afraid of the sunblock than I am of skin cancer.
Yeah.
So
I get burned when I put the sunblock on, not when I didn't.
But sun, vitamin D, very important, very important, very important. And it just helps you feel better. You will see the difference in how you are when you're out in the sun. I mean, especially at the beach. Everybody loves the beach, right? But it's just you carry yourself differently when you have sun in your life. And
one thing we'll always tell people when they have mental health issues, patients always ask, well, why do you say go outside for 5 minutes every day? And it's because exactly what you just said. Go outside for 5 minutes every day, stand in the spot, and even if it's, some people have a hard time going outside, but going out beyond their fence in their yard or something, even if it's just going out into your yard and standing there for a little while just to get some sun or something.
Absolutely.
I'd never had any history of mental illness, so it was really scary.
It kind of grows and grows, and then before you know it, you're like living in a shame jungle, and you have to like really hack your way out.
I just felt like this is it. It's coming. It's like a drain. It's coming, and it's going to hit me right in the face, and it did.
Affects your ability to deal with situations rationally. So you end up crying because you burnt toast.
I learned how to smile when my kids were around. But the second they went to bed, I fell apart.
Being in a crowd of your friends and still feeling alone.
Felt like I was kind of on the outside looking in at chaos.
And desperately disconnected from everything that seems to be good and meaningful in your life.
Never have anything to live for when you're truly depressed. That's part of what its problem is. You can't see any light.
A nightmare.
All right, welcome back, folks. After another really good personal message on mental health from somebody suffering from mental health, I want to segue now over to my co-host, Jose.
Yeah, so I want to get back to the medication piece of it. You were talking about the Klonopins, which is a benzo. Benzos are very dangerous, especially when you mix with alcohol. like, for those that don't know, I ran 3 recovery houses, Latino recovery houses, halfway house, transition house, recovery house, where you graduate and so you could go out into the community, be a productive citizen in society. Also a training facility to teach these young men or pad their resume. They learn how to work and be responsible in life. But, you know, doing all that, I've seen many psychiatrists and clinicians prescribe medication that at the end did more damage than good. Example, you know how when you're doing the blood pressure medication, the doctor will give you a sheet. He or she will tell you, take your blood pressure in the morning and take it in the afternoon. Bring it to me, and it goes, the blood pressure medication goes in steps. And it takes a while, probably a year, 6 months, until you get that medication that's right for you, right? It's a transition. They just don't prescribe something and you're better already from blood pressure. No, it's a process. Well, the same thing with these anxiety and depression medication. So perfect example, I had a resident one time. He was very close. He just passed away recently, but anyways, he came in to us really bad, really bad. But he's also one of those individuals that needed to be dual diagnosed. Mental health issues, ran in the family, and had his addiction piece. The clinician right off the bat gave him benzos, Klonopins. And he's not going to say no. He's an addict, but even though he's getting clean, he still wants that high, right? It's prescribed.
So he's not going to say no to the benzos.
No, but the doctor's giving it to him. It's not like he's doing anything wrong. No. He's getting that high again, once again, even though he's in recovery. He's feeling good. Now, we would give him passes as they would be there for a certain amount of time. They do good, you know, clean urines, working. You do everything you have to do. We'll give you passes. Gentleman graduated until he was now doing the overnight passes. So now you're getting close to where you're going to move shortly to the transition house and the sober houses, and you're going to be living on your own, working, cooking for yourself. And one night he came to us in a very bad state. He looked very, very bad, and he was drinking. We could tell, you know, we gave him the breathalyzer. He was drinking, but then by the end of the night, he was so bad we had to take him to the hospital. So I went through his bag and I noticed the benzos, right? So you were drinking, you were dealing with the benzos. So we didn't take, you know, we didn't really think much of it because, you know, we gave him his restriction. He was in restriction for 2 or 3 weeks. He couldn't go out. He did fine, and then back again. When he went back again after a month that he completed his restriction, he comes back in the same state again. You know, drunk, out of his mind, ended up in the hospital again. So we knew then that, you know, we needed to report this to the clinician because he, under no circumstance can he be on benzos because he was a drinker. His drug of choice was alcohol, but alcohol and benzos are a very dangerous combination. You could die from that. So that transition there, they had to, you know, they had to settle for anything that wasn't a benzo, like a Xanax or a Klonopin or anything of that sort, to just a regular Zoloft medication where it wouldn't affect him where he was drinking. So the clinical and piece, the medication piece of it, it's also tricky with mental health and very dangerous, I might say.
All right, with that said, we want to go back to another break real quick, and then we're going to bring it back to a close. Again, I want to thank both of you for being here. Stay tuned, folks. We're going to come back with a wrap-up on a serious note and keep this conversation going. I don't want to end this conversation. It's so good. But we'll be right back.
While 1 in 5 people will experience a mental illness during their lifetime, we all struggle during challenging times, and these challenges can impact our mental health.
Mental health is an incredibly important part of overall health for us to thrive. Therefore, it is crucial that we advocate for support and improved access to quality and affordable mental health care to be implemented.
When facing a mental health concern or living with a mental health condition, it is common to feel like no one understands what you're going through, especially in light of stigma and discrimination surrounding mental health.
Now more than ever, we need to continue the conversation challenging these issues. We need to share our stories, for not only is this sharing a therapeutic experience, but it brings to light the reality that we are not alone and that mental illness impacts us all.
If you or a loved one is struggling with a mental health concern, know that help is available 24/7, 365 days of the year. Calling 988 will connect you directly to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, where you get to speak with a trained crisis counselor. Remember, you are not alone.
All right, welcome back, folks. Again, another great message from another person with mental health. I'm Tiffany Williams.
Jose Rivera.
Jose Rivera.
And if that's not confusing, that is confusing, folks.
Let's clarify. Let's clarify.
Yes.
Let's clarify. Jose Ferdinand Rivera. Jose Antonio Rivera. He's the oldest. Apparently, my dad liked the name Jose. He's got the middle name from my dad, first name Ferdinand. I got the middle name from my grandfather, Antonio. So
there it is, folks.
There it is. See that? That's breaking news, I think, right here on News Talk New England, because I never knew that. Okay. So now I'm going to start calling you by your middle name. Oh, So folks, the conversation about mental health is something that has to continue year round. There's going to be a mental health event coming up later on this month. News Talk New England will be there. We want to thank Derek Kaiser, who's very active in the city and does so much in the city on mental health. So thank you, Derek Kaiser, to you for what you do. And we're looking forward to being at your event later on this month. But also, Woodrow Adams is doing an event.
Woody does a lot of good events. He's very involved with the community, and it's all about the kids and the youth, and that's important because our kids, our youth, are our future, and so it's them learning the importance of at a young age, how to be survive, with mental health issues and stuff. That's important too. It's important to keep these kids off the streets. Doing positive stuff in their lives, away from drugs and gangs, facing mental health is in their family, something that needs to be talked about. So, they're doing a great job between, Woody and Derek and, other positive people we have in our community. It's all about that,
Awesome. So June 25th is the Stop the Gun Violence event at the Boys and Girls Club. I'll be there. I believe you'll be there.
I'll definitely try to be there, definitely.
And News Talk New England actually has a basketball team competing. And on that note, I want to remind folks, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. Thank you for tuning in.